Hey there! Let's talk about media. I mean, it's everywhere, right? It's on our phones, our TVs, it's pretty much the air we breathe. But have you ever stopped to think about how it actually interacts with, you know, the real world? That's exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer. Seriously, just think about it for a second. When you're scrolling through your feed, are you just getting a clean, clear window into what's happening out there? Or is that window actually changing the very room you're standing in? That's the huge question we need to get to the bottom of. For the longest time, this whole debate about the media's power has basically been boiled down to two simple competing ideas. Is media this active force that actually shapes our society, or is it more of a passive mirror, just reflecting what's already going on? So you've got these two very clear camps. The shaper perspective, it argues that all that media content, from news bias to movie stereotypes, is actively influencing how we think and act. But the mirror crew says, whoa, hold on. They argue that media just reflects what's already out there. If you see violence on TV, it's because society is already violent. It's the classic, hey, don't shoot the messenger defense, right? Okay, but to really figure this out, we can't just pick a side. That's way too simple. We need to get a little more precise. So let's make sure we're all on the same page and lock in the definitions for the three key terms at the heart of this whole thing: media, culture, and society. First up, media. Pretty straightforward. It's the plural of medium. Basically, it's the channels or the pipes that communication travels through. And that's everything from a book or a billboard to a TikTok video or a massive global TV network. Next up is culture. Now, this one has two connected meanings. On one hand, it's the creative stuff we make, art, music, movies, but it's also the bigger picture, a society's entire way of life. So the superhero movies we watch, that's part of the first definition, and the values they promote, like heroism or justice, that's part of the second. See how they're linked? And finally, society. Think of this as the biggest container of all. It's the whole social world we live in: our laws, our government, our economy, our family structures. It's the giant framework where both media and culture have to operate. All right, now that we've got our terms straight, we can finally move past that simplistic shaper versus mirror fight, because, let's be honest, it's a false choice. So here's the twist. It's not one or the other. It's not that simple. The real relationship is way more dynamic. It's actually a feedback loop, a constant cycle where each one influences the other. The brilliant theorist Stuart Hall gave us a much, much better word for this than reflection. He used the word representation. And as he put it, representation isn't passive at all. It implies the active work of selecting, presenting, and shaping reality. And that little hyphen in represent is everything. Media doesn't just show us the world as it is, it represents it. It takes pieces of reality and then it constructs a new version of it for us. I mean, think about how Hollywood villains have changed over the decades based on who the real-world enemy was. That's not a neutral mirror. That's a very, very selective representation. So this brings us to a much better way of looking at it, a circular model. It all starts with real events and trends out there in society. That's the raw material. Then media producers select and shape that material into the content we see. And finally, and this is the crucial part, that manufactured content flows back out and influences the very society it came from. It's a cycle that just keeps going and going. Okay, so if it's a cycle, why did we ever think it was just a straight line? I mean, how did we get that so wrong for so long? To understand that, it really helps to look at how some of the early thinkers pictured the whole process of communication. So one of the foundational models came from a guy named Harold Laswell, way back in 1948. He broke it all down into 5 pretty simple questions: who, says what, in which channel, to whom, and with what effect. It's actually a pretty elegant way to start thinking about all the different pieces of the puzzle. But here's the problem. This model, and a lot of the early ones like it, sees communication as a total one-way street, a straight line from a sender to a receiver. And for the crazy, complicated world we live in now, it's just way too simple. In fact, these old models got some pretty wild nicknames. People said they treated communication like a postal service, just delivering a sealed message with no interaction. Or even better, like a hypodermic syringe that just injects the message directly into a passive, helpless audience. But we know that's not how it works, right? We don't just sit there and take it. So we obviously need a better model. We need one that actually captures the complexity and that circular flow we were just talking about. So let's take a look at a much more modern way to frame all this. And the first, most critical shift in thinking is this. We are not passive receivers. We are active users. It's a huge difference. We don't just absorb media. We interpret it, we argue with it, we share it, and now more than ever, we even create our own. This modern model has 4 key elements that are all interconnected. You've got media technologies, the actual hardware, from the printing press to your smartphone. Then there's the media industry, the big companies and organizations that make and distribute everything. Third is the media content itself, the shows, the articles, the posts. And finally, and maybe most importantly, there's us, the media users, actively engaging with it all. But, and this is the final piece of the puzzle, none of these 4 things exist in a bubble. The entire system is embedded inside that bigger sociocultural context we defined earlier. It's constantly being shaped by our society's politics, its values, its traditions, everything. So the takeaway here is that influence flows in all directions. We, the users, influence the industry with our clicks and our ratings. Technology shapes the kind of content people can even make. The industry pushes for certain technologies to be developed. It's this messy, dynamic, multi-directional web of influence, constantly shaping and being shaped by the world around it. Which, of course, brings us right back to you. You are not just sitting at the end of some one-way street. You are a key part of this complex network. You're an active user. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. Every single time you like, or share, or comment, or create something, or even just choose what to watch, how are you shaping the cycle?